Got a quick info fact.
I like that info fact. Listen, there's a whole debate, screw versus nails, right? And we're not having that debate today. But if you're living in an area that's good digging, then good driving would be even better. Unless that makes sense.
Today's video is brought to you by our good friends over at Nationwide Industries, the Fence Pros' #1 choice. And they are this Fence Pros' #1 choice for a couple reasons. One, we love using their Keystone Traverse latches. They're easy to install. You simply bolt them onto the post. No drilling for rods or cutting the rods required. It's a pretty straightforward installation process. We also love using their full line of galvanized hardware. It shows up quickly and reliably. All right, guys, today's video is from the one and only SWI Fence channel. If you guys are interested in fencing content at all, you should absolutely follow this channel. The Olsen brothers are good people in general, and they have really good content. It's really well done, and it's very informative. So, without further ado, how to easily build a horizontal cedar privacy fence by the SWI channel. As always, if you'd like to watch the full video without my commentary, we'll have the link in the description below.
Today we're going to show you how to build 6-foot tall horizontal cedar. Traditional is going vertical. We're going to make it go horizontal. Let's dive right in. We'll show you how to do it and all the steps that we use to make that happen. All right, so the first step of what we're going to do, we got to get these posts in the ground. And if you don't know what these are Postmaster posts.
Off to a good start. Postmaster steel post, lifetime warranted against rust and corrosion. Also wind load rated. I believe the Postmaster Plus are 72 miles an hour. You'd want to check that. Absolutely stronger than a wood post, and according to the data, stronger than like a 2.5-inch steel heavy wall post.
Dig a hole and you pour some concrete and stab it in the ground. No, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to drive it with the Rhino Driver XA.
Driving post is also grown incredibly in popularity in the last year or two. We actually have used this driver from SWI. We brought it in directly. It shipped quick and they were good to deal with.
One of the big things to remember about when you're doing a horizontal cedar fence, traditional cedar fence goes what? What's the post spacing? 8 foot on centers. Horizontal cedar fence, 6 foot.
Makes sense. They're using 6-foot pickets, so post centered 6 foot apart, 6 foot on centers.
Don't go past that 6 foot spot.
What color paint is he using? Looks like pink paint. I mean, I guess there's a whole discussion here about colors of paint to use. Some people use orange because it shows up really well, which is typically communications, fiber optic, telephone, that sort of thing. Pink is usually for surveying or denoting survey marks, which is the talking to we got about it was that pink on the ground is supposed to denote that is a survey point. White is the proposed excavation. It's also the hardest to see on grass. Well, maybe green would be the hardest to see possibly, but anyway, white isn't easy to see, so I understand using a more fluorescent color. One person's opinion on that.
See how easy that is? Super easy. Even in a little bit of rocky ground. Now, if you're in really rocky ground, I wouldn't recommend driving. I would recommend digging and setting.
We learned that the hard way, that we were in incredibly rocky ground and it wasn't ideal in every yard. There are some yards where it would work, but if you're living in an area that's good digging, then good driving would be even better. Unless that makes sense.
We're going to take a 2x4 in that 60.5 that we measured for our grade mark. We're going to cut a 2x4 to the 60.5 in length. We're going to rip it right in half. We don't have a table saw with us because it's on the job site, of course. So we're going to rip one with a skill saw.
I absolutely understand why they're doing that. I will say that typically, yes, table saw would be the best, or using saw horses would probably be the best. However, when you're on the job, you work with the tools you have.
What screws and hardware we're going to use on the cedar fence, everything is going to be stainless steel. Why? Well, because cedar has something in it called tannic acid. And if you go and you see somebody putting up a brand new fence and like a month later, it's got those nice black streaks down it, it's because they didn't use stainless steel hardware.
Staining tip, if you're staining a fence that has those black streaks, oxalic acid will typically either remove or really lighten them.
You know why we have horizontal cedar fence? Because that one guy that went out there and put up a brand new, beautiful, vertical cedar dog-eared picket fence, and The guy down the street, he was like, I like your fence, but I'm going to do mine so much cooler and better. And that's why we have horizontal cedar fence.
It's so true. So 3 things keep a fence company in business: kids, pets, and neighbors. Now, usually we say bad neighbors because you're trying to keep whatever's going on in their yard out of view of your yard. But some of this is very much one-upmanship between neighbors. Very good for fence business. I have a feeling he's not far off the mark on how we got horizontal cedar fences.
And it looks pretty dang cool. So we took one 2x4 and ripped it in half and cut it to 60.5 inches in length. So this took one 2x4. This took one. Each one of these posts took one 2x4. Is you want to make sure and put the cuts towards each other. Make sure not to put the cuts out, because then everything is nice and visible, and you're going to have that raw wood trying to keep the look nice and same. Same. Also, in case if your cut's off just a little bit, or if the board is just a little bit warped, then you can hide that on the inside, because you're never going to see it. Okay, so what we're going to use to fasten the pickets, the Magnum nail gun. So this is the one that we have found to grow and like.
Grip Ride via Nationwide also has a very nice nail gun that we've come to use quite a lot. Grip Ride also sells the nails that work really well in it. One place that will probably differ from this advice.
And these are the nails that we use. We use ring shank stainless steel nails.
I will agree with the ring shank. Listen, there's a whole debate, screw versus nails, right? And we're not having that debate today. But when you're using nails, it's important to use ring shank nails. In the past, there have been smooth bore nails, so literally it sounds just a smooth nail, comes out quite easily. There's also a screw shank, which has a screw pattern cut into the nail. Unfortunately, those do tend to work out as well, but these ring shank nails stay incredibly well, and I like that they're using stainless steel, to his point earlier, so they prevent streaking.
All right, here we go. So I'm going to match the top of this board with the top.
So what he's talking about, he's already sighted in his top line. He's sighted in the tops of his posts, so he knows whether it is a perfectly flat top line or if it's following the grade. He knows that the top of each post is exactly where he wants the top of the fence to be. He's already sighted that in.
So with these pickets, what's going to happen is over time, they're going to naturally want to warp. So one might go this way, one might go that way. And we want to try to control that as best we possibly can. So what we're going to do is we're going to nail this on the backside. We're going to put that halfway in between the posts. So I'm going to take a measurement, and I got 66, so I'm going to put it at 33. I'm going to take my ripped side. I'm going to put that towards Andrew. He's going to try really hard not to shoot me. Okay, I'm good on the bottom.
Got a quick hintful fact. You can't really see this without looking through the crack, but
I like that
hintful fact. Just take your tape measure and use it as a plumb bob. As long as your 2x4 on the back is straight, you just follow your tape. Don't nail your tape, but straight line.
Okay, so now we just got done demonstrating how you build a 5-foot tall horizontal privacy fence with no air gap between the pickets. Now on this next section, we're going to show you how to do that with a gap in between each picket. This section took 11 pickets. The next section, we're going to use 10 pickets, and we're going to use a 1/2-inch air gap.
I like the space gap a lot.
The space gap?
The gapped look a lot, because even cedar is going to naturally shrink a little bit. So it'll leave something like a 1/4 to a 1/2-inch gap between those pickets naturally, just as it dries. So by starting out with a 1/2-inch gap between the pickets, and when, not if, but when those pickets do shrink and create more of a gap, it's going to look more intentional than if the pickets had been spaced together. Then they gapped. It's going to look pretty obvious. The space look is a little bit nicer just because it looks more finished.
Andrew is complaining about how ugly the front looks. He says it doesn't look finished. I don't see the problem. Oh, we need to cover it up. We need to hide all the ugliness. That's what he's talking about. So what we did is we took a picket and we cut it down to what again? 60.5. Now we're not going to go putting a whole bunch of nails in this, because this is more of a trim piece to bring out the beauty.
I've seen some horizontal fences without that trim piece, and the picket costs a few bucks. Don't cheap out on this, because this really does give it the finished look. I've seen some that will cut the dog ears off, so they'll space the posts closer together, they'll cut the dog ears off, but you still see the edge on every single one. The picket, like I said, the pickets don't cost much, and for the increased look of the fence, it's absolutely worth it.
So it's a beautiful brand new fence, but nobody wants to see the post, right? That's what the picket's for. The only place that you can see it is right here, just a little bit. It's a far better product than a wood post, and it's going to last exponentially a lot longer than wood post. And if the wind blows really hard, it's not going to break off like a wood post would.
Yeah, so like I said, something, I believe it's 72 miles an hour on a 6 foot tall solid fence. So the space picket would be a higher wind load because some of that wind pressure will make its way through.
I showed you how we build our horizontal cedar. This is a 5 foot example. No air gap. And we cannot stress enough the importance of using a Postmaster post. Make sure and see the video about why they're so important and why we love them right here. Dan with SWI, we are Wyoming's fence company, and you have a good dang day.
Guys, think they did a great job illustrating the differences and how to build it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. I'll see you next time.